I used to think light was weightless, a gentle veil draped across the world, something that makes things visible without asking anything in return. But when the first true light came for me, it did not arrive like decoration. It arrived like gravity, a hush that bent the air around my soul until every lie I told myself slid off the surface and fell to the floor with a soft, irrevocable sound. I felt it before I understood it, a pressure of presence that did not crush but clarified, the way morning lays its hand on fog and the fog surrenders by becoming more itself before it becomes nothing at all. And I realized in that slow brightening that glory is not a spectacle to be watched, but a weight to be carried. A paradox where the heaviest thing is also the thing that sets you free. I had chased flashes and consolations, ornaments of faith that sparkle when someone is watching. But this light wanted rooms I had closed, hallways I kept dim so I wouldn't have to read the old graffiti of fear. It asked for my thresholds, not my stages. And I found that the beginning of wisdom is not to see the light, but to let it settle, to stop throwing it back like a mirror and absorb it like a garden drinks rain. The first lesson of glory is honesty, the kind that does not pace a courtroom in search of alibis, but sits on a wooden chair and breathes, naming things by their true names, and the names themselves begin to glow with a tenderness I did not know language could hold. In that encounter, love did not flatter me, it freed me, showing me the exact outline of my refusals without accusation, the way a shoreline is revealed when the tide goes out. And in the exposed sand, I recognized the scattered shells of promises I had made to God in times of emergency. If you come, I will change. If you answer, I will obey. Tiny covenants washed thin by weather. The light did not mock them, it gathered them, pressing them like relics into a new foundation beneath my ribs, and I sensed that glory builds downward before it rises, that it seeks bedrock in the heart where excuses cannot travel. I tried to measure it with the tools I knew: emotion, productivity, applause. But those measures lay useless in the brightness, like rulers left on a sunlit windowsill, straight and confident and completely irrelevant. Because what the light asks is not, how much can you feel? Or, how fast can you fix? But will you bear me where I send you? And I felt the question enter me like a sacrament, quiet and irreversible. I thought of the moments I had fled small crosses because they did not seem cinematic enough for grace, the conversations I avoided because truth is heavy to lift alone, the kindnesses I delayed until the timing made sense, and the light showed me a different arithmetic where one surrendered minute outweighs an entire week of performance, where a withheld apology is as heavy as a locked door, where a daily yes to the unnoticed task becomes a beam strong enough to hold another person's night. The paradox deepened as I walked with it. Every time I consented to carry the light, my steps grew lighter. Not because the work disappeared, but because the weight shifted from effort to love, like learning to move with the music instead of against it. And in that shift, I found that glory has a pedagogy. It trains the spine of the soul to stand without stiffening, to bow without breaking, to kneel without collapsing into shame. And this is how the burden becomes gift. I learned to practice in small rooms, holding my tongue when the easy quip would have won the room but lost my peace, listening all the way to the bottom of someone's pain instead of fishing for a quick solution, rising before the city remembered its names for success and letting silence name me anew. In those hours, the light felt heavier at first, like a cloak I wasn't sure I deserved. But then it warmed, matching my breath until I could not tell whether I was wearing it or it was wearing me. And in that intimacy, the old fear that God's demands would erase me dissolved into a certainty that His glory completes me, making me more myself by filling me with more of Him. The world did not change its billboards or its algorithms, but their shine dimmed against the brightness I carried, and I began to understand why some saints laugh gently at power without despising those who seek it. They have learned the leverage of love, the fulcrum of a cross hidden in daily consent. Even my memories rearranged under the weight of light. Events that had served as exhibits for despair found their truer context, like constellations that only make sense when you stop staring at the single star and step back to see the figure the heavens were drawing all along. I noticed how glory is patient with time, how it refuses the hysteria of immediate victory and the fatigue of immediate failure, how it prefers endurance, that quiet heroism that keeps showing up to the altar of the ordinary with empty hands and returns with bread for others. I started carrying a small prayer that fit under my breath without interrupting anything. Teach me to bear you. Teach me to bear you in traffic and tables and hidden rooms where decisions lean toward love or away from it. Teach me to bear you when my name is mispronounced or not called at all, when I am right and when I am merely loud, when I am seen and when I am the shadow holding the door. In response, the light did not give me techniques but presence, and presence is the only method love trusts, because formulas can survive without God, but presence cannot. I felt the difference in my anger first. It did not vanish, it aligned, as if glory fitted to a plumb line, transforming fury into strength that could build rather than break. Then in my sorrow, it grew spacious, like a room with open windows, where tears watered something I could not yet see. Then in my joy, it stopped needing witnesses, content to dance with no music but gratitude. And through it all, the paradox held. The more I carried glory, the more it carried me, until the day arrived when I sensed the next lesson approaching like weather, a brightening at the edges of my discernment, a hush that meant the light would soon grow heavy enough to reveal a deeper architecture. And I understood that what I had called enlightenment was only the foyer, that beyond the first surrender lay a nave of larger yeses, where the weight of light would crown and crush and consecrate all at once, not to harm me, but to hallow me. And in that trembling, because trembling is the appropriate courtesy before glory, I whispered the only words that do not sound small in the presence of the infinite. As you wish, and I felt the floor beneath me thicken into trust. It came not as punishment, but as presence, too full for my old containers. The weight of light increased until it pressed against every story I told about who I was. Stories built from the thin bricks of achievement and comparison, and they began to crumble, not dramatically but quietly, like dust sighing off the bones of idols. I had prayed for illumination but was not prepared for exposure, for how the light enters with both beauty and severity, how it reveals not only what shines, but what resists shining. The paradox is that God's glory does not destroy, it disassembles, returning every false structure to raw material so it can be built anew on truth. I tried to hold myself together, to look respectable in radiance, but the light had no interest in appearances. It sought foundations. It found in me rooms furnished with fear, portraits of God painted by suspicion, hallways lined with shoulds, and it simply stood there, not judging, just being, until the air itself confessed. I saw that the opposite of humility is not pride, but control, the impulse to curate revelation rather than receive it. So I stopped curating and let the brightness move through me like wind through a ruined chapel, clearing dust, carrying echoes, teaching stone to sing again. And I realized then that this is the cost of proximity. Glory breaks what cannot belong to love, not by decree, but by difference. The way light undoes darkness simply by existing. I could feel parts of me unravel, old bitterness softening into memory, ambition melting into gratitude, self-defense dissolving into breath. Each release hurt and healed in the same moment, like thorns turning into petals beneath unseen hands. It was not pain inflicted, but pain transfigured, the ache of being remade. I thought of the saints who spoke of burning and wondered if this was what they meant. Not punishment, but purification. Not agony, but intimacy too bright for comfort. And amid that intensity, I noticed how the light curved. It did not fall in straight lines like judgment, but moved in arcs like mercy, finding its way into the corners that shame had called permanent. There was warmth now, not the warmth of approval, but of belonging. I began to understand that glory weighs heavy because it is love made visible, and love, when it becomes fully itself, does not hover above life. It descends into it, asking to be carried through the streets, through the broken systems and unhealed relationships, through the marketplaces of distraction. It asks not for monasteries, but for Mondays. It says, "If you would bear me there." And so the second lesson began, that the weight of light is meant for movement. Glory is portable, not ornamental. I took it into my routines and found that ordinary tasks began to hum. The sink a small Jordan, the office a kind of Galilee, each person's face an unspoken invitation to reverence. I did not succeed often, but success is not the measure. Endurance is. I fell into old shadows, and the light followed, patient as dawn. I snapped at someone I loved, and the light waited, warm as apology. I doubted again, and it whispered, "Keep walking." And in those repetitions I discovered the rhythm of glory, the same rhythm by which galaxies hold and hearts beat, and forgiveness persists. It is slow, it is steady, it does not lose patience with my learning curve. And as I learned, I began to sense the light's intelligence, its discernment. It knew exactly how much weight I could bear, and never added more than love could lift. It trained me like a craftsman trains a hand. Pressure, release, repetition. I was being shaped for endurance, and endurance was becoming joy. Not the glittering joy of applause, but the quiet strength of faithfulness. There were moments when I wanted the radiance to return in its dramatic form, to feel overwhelmed again, but it did not indulge me. Instead, it grew subtle, weaving itself into gestures so small they could be mistaken for nothing. The patience to listen without planning a reply, the courage to tell the truth when silence would have been easier, the grace to celebrate someone else's victory without shrinking my own worth. These were the new miracles, unnoticed by crowds, but counted by heaven. One afternoon, sitting by a window, I saw how sunlight fell on dust motes, and for a second, I understood how vast and precise love must be. To care for the angle of every beam, the timing of every spark, the choreography of every unseen mercy. And I realized that what I carried was not a burden, but a balance. Glory does not crush because it shares its weight. It teaches co-carrying. I with God, God with me, each moving toward the other like tide and moon. And so the heaviness became harmony. The paradox resolved itself not by simplifying, but by singing, a kind of silent music that filled my bones. I could feel it even in grief, perhaps especially there. For grief is where glory learns compassion's tone. When I lost someone dear, the light did not preach. It stayed, holding vigil in the empty chair until absence turned transparent. And through that transparency, I saw how love never stops traveling. It changes address, but not direction. I wept then, not from despair but recognition. Even in loss, the weight remains, the steady pull toward reunion, the gravity of glory drawing all things back into its heart. In the nights that followed, I walked under real stars and felt their light differently, no longer distant, but kin, ancient reminders that every radiance carries its own burden of being seen. And I whispered to them, as if to fellow pilgrims, "How do you bear it?" And the wind answered for them, "By shining, by simply shining." And that became my instruction too. To shine, not to impress but to express. Not to compete, but to complete the circle of giving. To let the light find others through the cracks it has carved in me. I carried it home, into my sleep, where dreams no longer fled from dawn but welcomed it. And in those luminous corridors between waking and resting, I heard it again. The voice that has no sound, yet fills everything it touches. You are not meant to escape the weight. You are meant to become luminous under it. Morning found me unafraid of brightness. The world looked the same but carried a different gravity, as if everything had remembered its true purpose overnight. Even the air seemed thicker with meaning. I walked through streets washed in gold, and for once, I did not try to capture them with a camera or a phrase. I let them pass through me like breath, through lungs that finally trusted the rhythm that keeps them alive. The light no longer pressed on me. It pulsed with me. It was no longer an event, but an element. I did not carry it. I belonged to it. The weight of light had become the balance of love. And in that balance, I began to understand what the saints meant when they said that glory humbles before it exalts, and exalts by humbling. It is not a crown you wear, but an atmosphere you consent to breathe. You cannot grasp it, and yet it holds you. You cannot own it, and yet it defines you. Glory, I realized, is not God demanding admiration. It is God giving himself away faster than our fear can say no. That is why it feels heavy, because love that complete always outweighs us before it lifts us. The heaviness of light is the mercy of God, measured in tenderness. It is the reminder that we were never meant to shine alone. In carrying glory, we learn companionship with every creature that bears it too. The trees aching toward sky, the rivers reflecting without pride, the faces around us radiant with quiet pain. I saw it in them now, everywhere. The same light, the same burden, the same beauty. It shimmered in the eyes of strangers, in the silence between words, in the pauses of forgiveness that sound like breathing. I began to move slower, not from fatigue, but from reverence. The smallest gesture became sacrament. Pouring water, folding a shirt, touching a shoulder. Each movement released light from the body into the world. And I thought, this is how glory travels, not in visions or victories, but in patience, in kindness, in the invisible endurance of love. I remembered the times I had begged God to use me for something great, and I heard his answer again in the hush around my heartbeat. Greatness is not bigger, it is deeper. It descends, it listens, it holds. The weight of light is not for display, but for depth. It is not for towers, but for roots. And I knew then that the true paradox of glory is not that it lifts the humble, but that it humbles the lifted, making every soul equal in radiance. I could feel the lesson settle in my bones, warm and unhurried, like wine poured into an ancient cup. I understood that holiness was not the escape from heaviness, but its transformation into harmony. What once burdened, now balanced. What once burned, now blessed. I walked further into the day, each shadow around me less a threat and more a texture of light. The darkness had not disappeared. It had learned its place. every shadow was the proof that light is real. And in that coexistence, I saw the mercy of the Maker, who wastes nothing, not even the night. I thought of all the times I had asked for clarity and received confusion instead, only to realize later that confusion was the plow-clearing soil for revelation. I thought of all the times I had asked for strength and been given weakness, only to find that weakness was the door through which the weight of light could enter without shattering me. The paradox again. The weaker I became, the brighter he grew in me. And so I stopped asking to be strong and started asking to stay open. That prayer changed everything. It was lighter than any I had ever prayed, and yet it held the whole world inside it. I could not tell whether the prayer began in me or in him. It no longer mattered. We were breathing the same air. Toward evening, the sky deepened into colors I did not know how to name. Amber melting into violet, violet into something like memory. I watched the sun lower itself with such gentleness that I understood for the first time what humility looks like when it belongs to God. Even the sun knows how to bow. Its light softened as it touched the earth, and I felt it echo in me. The movement of surrender that is not defeat, but devotion. I whispered into that golden quiet, "You are too much." And the silence answered, "So are you." It was not flattery, it was recognition. For light recognizes its own, even when hidden inside flesh and fear. And I knew then that the story was never about surviving the weight of glory, but about discovering that we were made of the same substance. We are not the carriers of light, we are the lit. The fire burns within, and it is gentle, it is endless. And when I closed my eyes, I could still see it, not as brightness, not as vision, but as the steady, tender heaviness of being loved beyond all measure. That love does not demand, it abides. It builds quietly inside every heart willing to hold it. It has no finish line, only unfolding. It is the paradox made whole, the weight that frees, the light that bends low, the glory that humbles by making everything, even dust, shine.